Hey, I'm Mack. Welcome back to my channel. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and consider joining my Patreon for access to new videos 12 to 24 hours early, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. Okay, so I planned on having a video out like a couple days ago, but then I learned that you can actually play Black Mesa, which is the current it's like a remake on the new engine of Half-Life, the original Half-Life, and it's like a much better remake than Half-Life Source. And so, there was nothing I could do. Okay, I learned that you could play it on Mac via crossover, which is an application that lets you play Windows games on Mac. So, I mean, you guys, nostalgia, right? So I ran across this video, and it's of a former HEALY coach. Okay, HEALY, if you didn't know, we're not talking about the roller skate shoes. The HEALY is a type of device known as a TENS or an EMS device, which in the medical field actually does have some legitimate applications. It basically sends a small electrical current through a couple of electrodes that are attached to the skin when it's being used in a medical setting. And essentially they can either stimulate muscle contraction or help reduce nerve pain. I think it's used a lot for fibromyalgia, other types of like chronic pain, things where you don't really want to be taking pain relievers all the time, that can be a good option. And while the HEALY is that, it's not being used in a legitimate medical way. Sometimes it's not even attached to their body, and they have all these bullshit claims about frequencies because they don't know what frequency means. They don't understand what a frequency is. Yeah. So, of a former HEALY coach named Stephen Keller, and I guess he's been terminated from HEALY, and it's a really good example of how even if you are doing well in an MLM, it's not going to be a long-term thing, and you're always going to be at risk because unlike with a 9 to 5, you don't have any protections about what they can and cannot terminate you for. Okay, so he's going to tell us all about how he got terminated from HEALY.
Hey, this is Steve. I'm out. Favorite office in the world?
What, is it a van down by the river?
I love it out here. So peaceful. Makes me happy, makes me feel abundant. But
yeah, that would make me feel like it was abundant with mosquitoes.
Today I want to talk a bit about my termination from HEALY. And first of all, I will say, don't make any negative comments. I'll
I'm not making any promises.
delete them. It's not what this is about, to express people's frustration with HEALY.
Oh, are people frustrated with HEALY? Why ever would that be?
Secondly, I will say that I love the device, love Marcus's vision, really appreciate, and the CEO currently right now.
Well, that's your first problem there.
Christian Dorna. But I just want to kind of, yes, I am terminated. I want to give you some explanations why, and so there's not any rumors going on and what
I'm sure there still will be.
it means and doesn't means.
What it doesn't means? What's your problem?
First of all, still have a very large Facebook group with thousands of people in it.
Well, congratulations.
This was started to help support people through HEALY, and we'll still do that. I'll still do my best to support you on using your device. Some of the things I will personally be restricting because I'm not a member of the some of the leader groups, so all the complicated stuff that's going on right now.
Oh, is there complicated stuff going on?
I don't have access to it anymore, but we'll help you the best we can. And so really the bottom line is that you know, it is their business. They can do what they want.
What? What? Huh? It's their business? I thought it was your business. I thought you were all starting your own businesses and building your futures and whatever. I thought you were the CEO of your own company. Now you're telling me that it's their business and not yours? What? Yeah, see? When it actually comes down to it, and when it comes down to what matters, it's not your business. You are not a business owner. The people who started the MLM are business owners.
As like, I like to have my own business, so no one tells me what to do.
Then why did you start a HEALY business?
So sometimes people part ways on that. And the big picture is that, you know, I mean, in 2020, I sold more HEALYs than anyone in the world.
It still sounds like you're selling roller skate shoes. I'm just saying. But yeah, see? He's been terminated, even though in 2020 he sold more HEALYs, you know, so it doesn't matter how well you're doing. They can cut you out of the MLM at any point for any reason because you're not an employee, so you don't have any sort of protections under labor standards because you're not an employee.
And they were very generous to me, gave me a Porsche bonus, they took a cash bonus instead.
Which was probably the smarter option there, especially because now you'd be stuck with that lease payment. But yeah, well, I don't know if they were really generous with you considering that you sold that many HEALY devices. But, you know, it's kind of like when people say that their employer is generous, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? You do work for them.
So much of everything with HEALY has been amazing. You know, I first got the device because, wow, just watching fish jump here, so beautiful. You know, I first got the device because I thought it would help my coaching clients be able to do things for themselves, which they otherwise pay me to help them heal at $100 an hour. And
why do I not believe that? Wow, you guys, he's such a giver.
So in some ways, it might have even cost me money.
Oh my goodness, wow. What a generous, just, you know, philanthropist.
Although HEALY, I made a lot of money with HEALY.
Wow. The passive aggressive tone is really, it's starting to come through a little bit.
And that was true. That was very helpful for them. It's an extraordinary device. You know.
But it's not, though. It's a TENS machine or an EMS machine that you think has magical powers. That's what you think. You think it has magical powers, pretty much. All right, it's not anything real. It's that you're ascribing to it. You're ascribing magical powers to it.
The problems was right from the beginning in that when I look at a network marketing opportunity, one of the first most important things is I look to see that if the person who owns the company has actually decent amount of network marketing experience. And
it's always they're always on to the next thing. It's such an insular little incestuous bubble.
And Marcus doesn't, right? He's not really a businessman, he's a visionary, and his business partner doesn't know anything about network marketing.
I hate the term visionary so much because usually when someone is having the term visionary applied to them, they're usually not what the dictionary definition of a visionary would describe.
He's an investor. So it kind of sets you up for making poor decisions in this. And Marcus doesn't, right? He's not really a businessman, he's a visionary. And his business partner doesn't know anything about network marketing. He's an investor. So,
oh yeah, investors don't know anything about business.
It kind of sets you up for making poor decisions in this very unique industry. And a lot of poor decisions were made. First of all, they grew too fast. Dirk Zalman grew the business, the first CEO, who apparently in conversations I have with Marcus still likes him, but he kind of grew the business like a drunken sailor, too fast.
What are you talking about? An MLM, usually you're going to want it to grow as fast as you possibly can because they have an expiration date. All right. Like they are going to hit a peak whether you like it or not. So an MLM just needs to grow as quickly as it possibly can.
In fact, it will maybe by the end of the year, HEALY will actually be legal to do business in all the countries they're open in.
Is that a passive aggressive swipe or something? Is HEALY in countries that they're not legally supposed to be in?
Then they kind of strung from that and they flipped all the way over the other side with new management, new CEOs who viewed the distributors as almost the problem and got super restrictive, and then brought.
Maybe I would have to imagine that it might be because you were making a bunch of bullshit claims that were getting them into legal hot water. Like the fact that you can use a TENS machine remotely and some shit.
And a consultant to rewire everything in the compensation plan, and a consultant who also thinks that the distributors are the enemies and you have to protect companies from it. And so
they do have to protect the company from them if they're making illegal medical claims.
They never got the distributors' feedback on what they should do. They just kind of presented it.
The law does not need your feedback.
And even a year ago, I looked at what they were going to do. I'm like, this is not going to work at all, right? But, no one asked us. And July.
There's a reason nobody asked you, sweetheart.
By August, when they roll everything out, volume drops by, 90%.
Citation, please.
And so they've been trying to fix it, but HEALY's problem all along has been it's too complicated. And they just roll out more programs and more complicated things. And the guy who...
Yeah, that's HEALY's problem. Is it's too complicated. That's the only problem HEALY has.
Created the compensation plan, that almost destroyed the company, is still a consultant, which I don't understand. Whatever. Love the device. Love what it does for people.
Jesus God Almighty.
If you want to have some amazing stuff with frequency and consciousness and everything, wow, like.
With frequency and consciousness and everything. Frequency of what? Is it electromagnetic? Is it like a sound? Like a frequency is something happening a certain number of times per second. It's happening at a regular interval. That's all a frequency is. It's how frequently something is happening. All right, I'm going to demonstrate for you that frequency is something happening a certain number of times per second, because pitch and tempo are the same thing. We know that the pitch of a note is its frequency, right? But what does that mean? Well, it's how many times is it happening per second. Observe what happens when I increase the speed of this pattern. Pitch and tempo are the same thing, and frequencies are just something happening a certain number of times per second. I don't know what type of cycle you're talking about when you're talking about these frequencies.
amazing. Can't recommend it enough. Building a business? Oh my God, I like the thought of selling another device to somebody else, like practically gives me PTSD. So, you know, come the fall, I was kind of over it. And I very, very deliberately attracted, very specifically, another opportunity to build.
So you went looking for another opportunity, to use the non-bullshit speak. God, that is infuriating how he's like, I consciously attracted another opportunity. Okay, so you were looking for another company that you wanted to jump ship to.
The legacy with, and that company's Vitify. It's like
a legacy, really?
Liquid curcumin drops.
We've been over curcumin is like a frequent flyer on this channel. Curcumin is a substance that is well known in the pharmaceutical industry for causing false positives on a broad like chemical library analysis, where like they're trying to identify a compound that might be active against a certain receptor or against a certain pathway, a biological pathway or whatever that might become a candidate for a drug. And they'll just like run a bunch of different chemicals against the target that they have. And curcumin is well known for causing a lot of false positives, where it looks like it's going to have a lot of activity against the target, but it never does. And it's well known for being for just like causing a lot of wild goose chases. Yeah, because curcumin is this is the technical term. It's a promiscuous molecule.
Beautifully simple and effective in every way, and love every aspect about it. And super happy with that.
Yeah, you seem so happy.
And as I started growing that business, I was extremely careful initially to screen anyone who asked me for information.
Well, why ever would you need to screen them?
Do a freaking background check on them on Facebook. Oh, looks like they might.
You did a background check on them on Facebook. You're weird.
Have common friends in Healy. They're probably in Healy. Therefore, no. I want you to send you information about this supplement.
Ooh, look who's devious.
And some people are like, who's Healy to tell me that I can't buy something? I'm like, well, it is what it is. I didn't want to appear to be cross-recruiting.
Right. They're not telling you can't buy something. They're telling you that you can't participate in another opportunity because they know what's going to happen. You're going to go to that other company where like you might be able to get a higher rank or whatever, and then you're going to take your entire downline from Healy and go over to them. So of course, any MLM is going to have a very strict thing in there where you like if they find out that you are working with another MLM company, you're out. That's it. Because they know that you're going to stab them in the back.
Anything like that. And as the year went on, I became less careful. I'm like, you know what? It's not my decision to deny people something good. So,
oh my God. Yeah, I just needed to help them. I didn't have a choice. I would be doing them such a huge disservice if I didn't tell them about my new bullshit supplement. The narcissism and utter bullshit is off the charts, you guys. Wow. That makes... I didn't have a choice because I had to. It would have been wrong of me.
I wasn't as careful. And, sometime in February, someone introduced me to the iTerracare terahertz wand. It's just a very simple device.
Was that a sex toy? Sounds like a sex toy, doesn't it? Is this a pure romance competitor?
It looks like a fancy hairdryer.
Is that what it looks like? Are you sure?
It's $350.
Fuck.
You point it at basically you turn it on and point it at whatever hurts. Then
Wait, hurts or hurts?
it fixes stuff. Even you can.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. I have to look into this thing. Oh, this sounds great. It's like it's like a first-person shooter for all your problems. God, I've been playing Black Mesa too much.
Point it at your crown chakra and have like.
I have a feeling that that's going to look like you're doing something else.
Stunning impact throughout your whole body.
I feel like a hairdryer would have more of an impact.
Incredibly simple device.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Stunningly effective. Holy crap. I mean, you can, like, the stuff you can do for it is amazing. No, it's not a device to delve into your consciousness and what you're feeling and your emotions and everything, but as a...
Yeah, I usually just use my brain for that.
As an impact on your physical health and the ease of use, yeah, it's a winner. And so I started sharing that with people, and of course, I never went out of my way to try and recruit anyone, but naturally,
it doesn't matter.
Some people in Healy bought a device from me.
Right.
And one thing to understand is that leaders in network marketing organizations, when business goes down and they don't have very high consciousness, they will go into stress and
the language this guy uses, and they don't have very high consciousness. He's so just superior to them. It's because they know what you're going to do. You're going to take your whole downline and go over to that company. They can't have you doing that. And even if you say you're not going to, or that you never would do that, okay, well, 99% of people who are doing that would. All right, it's like if you put a product that you didn't pay for at the store you work at in your pocket, and you were gonna, walk out with it, and you're like, well, I didn't steal it. I was gonna take it out of my pocket, or I was gonna pay for it later. Really, were you? No, you're gonna get fired. Like that, it doesn't matter. It looks enough like you were trying to steal, and 99.9% of people who do that are trying to steal something. So,
the fear. And when I start selling devices, because I'm fairly well known in Healy, people will freak out, right? Because they think I'm gonna take their people.
Right, because they're not stupid. They're evil, but they're not necessarily stupid.
They're people. It's just a weird term. So, there's two people in particular who are very adamant about that. I think one of them actually in particular hired, I don't know this for sure, but decent amount of evidence that they hired a law firm to send very nasty, threatening letters to people who used to be in Healy and are selling this iTerracare one. So a lot of control and manipulation.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past an MLM operator.
Which I don't agree with, and I don't respond to. I'm like, whatever. Send me all the letters you want. It's just BS. But, when I posted a video about talking about the iTerracare wand versus Healy, and I was trying to be very complimentary of Healy, my account got suspended.
Of course it did. You can't do that.
They weren't really responsive to okay, what is exactly is going on.
They don't have to respond. They're done with you.
Technically, if you go by the policies of Healy.
Well, and there's a reason they have those policies. It's because it's one of their direct competitors. I don't understand how this is so hard for him to understand.
I'm not allowed to talk about another device now.
Right.
Now, I don't feel that iTerracare wand is that much of a competition.
Doesn't matter. It's another MLM product.
Because it doesn't do what Healy will do.
It's another MLM product.
And Healy doesn't do what this device does. But
it's another MLM product. It doesn't matter. Because the product doesn't matter in an MLM. You probably could have been talking about doTERRA oils, and you also would have gotten fired. It doesn't matter how similar it is to the Healy device, because the point is that it's another network marketing company.
It's close enough to technically break the policies, and
No, it's because it's an MLM.
Asked the CEO, I'm like, what is the deal here? And he's like, oh, I watched the video. I didn't think it was a big deal. So he reversed it, and I got my account back.
Wow, I'm surprised.
And let's say this. I wasn't exactly super careful about keeping my accounts, or cautious. And when I made another similar video, this time Healy terminated the account, not just suspended it.
Yeah, they suspended you the first time, and then you got another chance.
And currently I'm not getting any feedback from.
Why would they give you any feedback?
Christian, or no, they're not answering my emails.
Why would they? They're done with you.
And in fact, by the way, Healy, you owe me money from February.
They don't owe you shit. Because I'm sure in that contract it says they don't have to pay you anything if you break the policy. Because guess what? You're not an employee. So there's no legal requirement for them to pay you anything. They only have to pay you whatever they agreed to in that contract that you had. And that contract is probably void because you broke the contract. And so now you are not entitled to anything because you're not an employee. The only thing that was obligating them to pay you was that contract that you violated. That's the difference between an MLM and an actual job. In an actual job, they absolutely have to pay you everything that you've earned. Every hour that you worked, they have to pay you all of that. Whether you get fired, whether you get fired for having sex on the desk or what. It doesn't matter what you were fired for. They have to pay you everything that you worked for, all the hours you worked and all of that. Healy doesn't have to do that. That contract is the only thing. There's no law that says an MLM has to pay their consultants or whatever, okay? It's just because they have that contract with you that they have to pay anything. And I'm sure that contract is very specific about when they don't have to.
That's one thing you have to do, right? From before you terminate me. Anyways, I'm sure you'll pay.
No, they won't. They absolutely won't. It probably says that you forfeit everything for the year.
But, so that's the case right now. My account is terminated. I'm actually feel so much less stressed.
Oh my God, it's such a blessing, you guys.
Because the business end of it just felt like an obligation. And I can't move forward.
Were you telling people when you were recruiting them, were you telling them about how it felt like an obligation, or were you telling them that it was an amazing business opportunity that gave you a physically gratifying orgasm every single day? Because I feel like it was probably the latter.
Doing anything as an obligation that feels like a burden.
It's almost like you were lying to people.
So, anyways, I hope that's a good explanation for people. If you bought a Healy from me and need help, call me.
If you bought a Healy from him, you need help, call me. Don't call me, message me, autistic.
Happy to help you out with it still. Looks like they're coming out with a super cool device. I don't know if you've seen this Mack Healy thing, kind of like device that will change the frequency of a whole room.
Shut up, I need to see this.
I'll probably buy one.
You're an idiot.
Although, I watched a 3-hour webinar and they talk about it, but they don't tell you how much it is or where you can buy it,
What, you thought they were going to tell you that?
No, I don't. They're not asking me for marketing advice, but...
No, they're not. They're not asking you to contact them in any way.
That seems goofy to me. Anyway.
You think it's goofy that they're not asking you for marketing advice?
Anyways, yes, I'll probably buy one. Cool, I'll talk.
Well, I guess they don't need any more help with marketing because they terminated someone and you're still buying a device from them. You're so stupid.
Talk about it. I'll do a review on it. Happy to chat about it. All that good stuff. So, hope that's helpful for people. If you have any questions, you can email me. Or if you're on Facebook, just Facebook message me. Anyways, no negative comments. Just don't need to go there. I hope Healy recovers and gets its mojo back.
Not bloody likely.
Because there are a lot of people who really need this device who fundamentally need what it can do for them. And it's a great vision, and I believe in it. I think they have to get a lot simpler to get that many people on product, because a lot of people I know who have Healys, they don't use it anymore.
Well, that's because they went out of style after middle school.
Because they ran into a couple issues and they couldn't fix it, and then they're like, screw it.
Yeah, well, or maybe it didn't work.
And customer service wasn't able to respond quickly enough, and they're just not able to consistently overcome the technical hurdles.
Yeah, like the fact that the device is a fucking bullshit TENS and an EMS machine that doesn't work for the purposes that you're using it for.
Associated with using the device, so.
Yeah, it's such a mystery why it's not working.
Anyways, hope you guys enjoy your beautiful day as much as I'm enjoying mine.
I'm gonna get back to my van down by the river.
Although I probably have a prettier office than anybody watching this.
That is false if you've seen my view.
So, have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, bye. So I just thought that was a great example of all the ways in which you are completely open to the MLM company taking things away from you. Even if you are one of their top performers, it does not matter. You do not have the protections that an employee has. They don't have to pay you anything that it doesn't say in your contract. And if their contract says that they don't have to pay you something, they don't have to. It's not like wages that absolutely must be paid. They can terminate you for any reason that they specify, and you will get nothing. With all of the, with all the time that you put in, you'll get nothing. And you will have no recourse. So, it's always something to keep in mind is even if you do end up making money, you will always be at risk of this happening. Just like it happened to him, and then you'll be in a van down by the river. All right, everybody, I've been Mac. Peace out. Bye.